As it, what comes out? Orange juice. Not because you demanded it, not because you wished it, but because that is what was inside all along. In the same way, when life squeezes you during periods of waiting, when opportunities delay, when relationships stall, when answers seem suspended, what comes out of you? Is it fear? Is it resentment? Is it doubt? Or can it be faith? Can it be patience? Can it be the deep knowing that you are more than your circumstances? The waiting does not create your character, it reveals it. And if impatience flows out of you, it is simply showing you where healing is still required. This is not a cause for shame. It is an invitation for awareness. You see, the ego defines you by what you have achieved, what you possess, how quickly you succeed. But your spiritual identity is not rooted in outcomes. You are not a human being trying to earn divine approval. You are a divine being having a human experience. You are already connected to the source from which all blessings flow. And if that is true, then what could possibly be missing? If you are an extension of the same intelligence that paints sunsets and shapes mountains, then how could your life be an accident? The waiting is not evidence of abandonment. It is evidence that something unseen is aligning on your behalf. Consider the ocean. On the surface, waves crash and churn. There is noise and motion and turbulence. But descend just a few feet beneath, and you enter stillness. Go deeper, and there is profound calm. Your ego lives at the surface, reacting to every ripple. Your soul dwells in the depths, anchored in eternal peace. When you are waiting for something, a breakthrough, a healing, a partner, a calling, you can choose where you reside. Will you live at the surface, tossed about by each passing thought? Or will you sink into the depths of your being, where trust is natural and surrender is effortless? Surrender is not weakness. It is strength beyond comprehension. The ego believes surrender means defeat, but surrender, in spiritual truth, means alignment. It means saying, I release my need to dictate the how and the when. I choose to align with the wisdom that sees beyond my limited view. When you cling tightly to your own agenda, you contract. When you release, you expand. And expansion is your natural state. The universe itself is expanding. Life is forever unfolding into more. Why would your path be any different? There are moments in life when you pray for immediate answers. You plead for clarity. You beg for signs. And sometimes the response is silence. But silence is not absence. Silence is sacred. It is in silence that intuition whispers. It is in silence that guidance arises. If every request were granted instantly, you would never develop the spiritual muscles of patience and faith. Waiting stretches you. It refines you. It teaches you to find contentment not in the arrival, but in the journey itself. Ask yourself gently, who would I be if I trusted completely? Who would I be if I believed that every delay carried hidden wisdom? The ego says, I will relax when it happens. The soul says, relax now because it is already unfolding. The ego postpones peace. The soul embodies peace. And peace is not the result of circumstances aligning perfectly. Peace is the recognition that even when circumstances are unclear, you are eternally supported. You are not waiting for your life to begin. Your life is happening now. The divine is not withholding your good. The divine is weaving it together in ways your finite mind cannot yet comprehend. Think of the sky. Clouds may gather and obscure the sun, but the sun does not disappear. It remains shining steadily, whether you can see it or not. In the same way, God's grace is constant. Your inability to perceive it does not negate its presence. Your waiting is like the cloudy sky, temporary, shifting, passing, but the light behind it is eternal. There are no accidents in timing. What arrives too early would overwhelm you. What arrives too late would no longer serve you. There is a divine choreography at work, synchronizing events, people, and opportunities with impeccable precision. When you trust this, anxiety loosens its grip. You no longer need to force doors open. You no longer need to manipulate outcomes. You can simply show up, aligned and open, ready to receive what is already on its way. The ego feeds on comparison during the waiting. It looks at others and says, why them? Why not me? But comparison is the thief of spiritual alignment. You do not know the curriculum of another soul. You do not see the lessons they have chosen, nor the timing of their unfoldment. Your path is uniquely designed for your growth. The flower does not envy the tree. The river does not resent the mountain. Each fulfills its purpose in its own time, and so will you. Trust is not passive. It is active surrender. It is choosing faith in the face of uncertainty. It is affirming, I am guided. I am supported. I am exactly where I need to be. These are not empty words. They are declarations of alignment. When you repeat them, you shift your energy from scarcity to abundance. You move from fear to love. And love is the highest vibration. Love trusts. Love allows. Love believes in unseen possibilities. The waiting often strips away illusions. It reveals attachments you did not realize you had. It exposes the ego's need for validation. And in that exposure, you are given the opportunity to heal. If you can find peace before the blessing arrives, then the blessing will no longer define you. It will simply enhance what is already whole within you. This is the great secret. You are not waiting to become enough. You are already enough. What you desire is not meant to complete you. It is meant to express through you. When impatience arises, observe it without judgment. Say to yourself, there is my ego seeking control. And then return to your breath. Return to the present moment. The present moment is the only place God can meet you. Not in the imagined future, not in the replayed past, but here, now. This breath is sacred. This heartbeat is sacred. This moment of waiting is sacred. What if the waiting is where you learn to hear your soul most clearly? What if the pause is preparing you for a reality far greater than the one you are currently imagining? The caterpillar must remain in the cocoon longer than it would prefer. But if it forced its way out too soon, its wings would not be strong enough to carry it. Your waiting is strengthening your wings. Trust God with your waiting. Surrender it to Him. Not because you are powerless, but because you recognize the greater power within and around you. The same intelligence that beats your heart without your effort is capable of orchestrating your destiny without your anxiety. Let go of the illusion that you must figure it all out. You are not the architect of the universe. You are a participant in its magnificence. And in this participation, you are invited to embody faith. Faith is not blind belief. It is inner knowing. It is the quiet certainty that even when the path is unclear, you are being led. Each delay, each detour, each closed door is redirecting you towards something aligned with your highest good. The ego calls it setback. The soul calls it guidance. When you surrender your waiting, you reclaim your peace. You stop bargaining with the future. You stop resisting the present. You begin to live as if what you seek is already seeking you. Because it is, the universe is not conspiring against you. It is conspiring for you. Every unseen movement is aligning circumstances in your favor. Say it softly within yourself. I trust the timing of my life. I trust the wisdom of the divine. I trust that what is meant for me cannot miss me. Feel the energy of those words. They are not hopeful wishes. They are statements of spiritual law. What aligns with your soul will find its way to you, and what passes you by was never part of your highest path. In the waiting, you discover who you truly are. Not a fearful mind scrambling for control, but an eternal being anchored in faith. Not a victim of delayed outcomes, but a co-creator aligned with divine order. The waiting is not empty space. It is holy ground. It is where trust is born. It is where surrender deepens. It is where your identity shifts from ego to essence. So breathe. Release your grip. Let the timeline dissolve. Allow the mystery to unfold. You do not need to see the entire staircase to take the next step. You only need to trust that the step beneath your foot is secure. And it is. You are guided. You are supported. You are loved beyond measure. Trust God with your waiting. Surrender it to Him. In that surrender, you will find not delay, but peace. Not absence, but presence. Not emptiness, but quiet transformation. And one day, you will look back at this season of waiting and realize it was never a void. It was the sacred space where your faith became unshakable, where your heart expanded, where your soul remembered its eternal connection to the source of all things. And in that remembrance, you will smile gently, knowing that the waiting was never about the arrival, it was about awakening. And as you remain in that awakening, something subtle begins to change within you. The urgency that once tightened your chest begins to soften. The restless questioning of when slowly dissolves into the sacred inquiry of who am I becoming through this? And that question, that gentle redirection inward, is where the miracle truly begins. Because the divine is never as concerned with the arrival of your desire as it is with the evolution of your consciousness. You see, every season of apparent delay is shaping the container that will hold your blessing. If the vessel is fragile, the gift would shatter it. If the heart is unprepared, the opportunity would overwhelm it. So life, in its infinite wisdom, refines you quietly. It sands down the rough edges of fear. It dissolves the arrogance of self-will. It loosens the grip of attachment. And what remains is a being more spacious, more surrendered, more capable of receiving without clinging. There is a profound difference between waiting with resistance and waiting with reverence. Resistance feels like standing in a storm, shouting at the sky. Reverence feels like standing beneath that same sky, knowing the clouds are temporary. When you resist, you contract. When you revere the process, you expand. And expansion is the natural movement of the soul. The oak tree does not resent the winter that strips its leaves. It knows that beneath the frozen surface, life is reorganizing itself for spring. So too is your life reorganizing itself beneath appearances. The ego demands visible progress. It measures worth by milestones. It calculates success by speed. But the soul understands that transformation often happens in invisibility. A child in the womb does not announce its development day by day, yet in that hidden sanctuary, entire systems are forming, bones are strengthening. A heartbeat is establishing rhythm. In silence, life is preparing itself for emergence. Can you trust that something just as intricate is forming within you? What if the very stillness you are experiencing is calibrating you to a higher frequency? What if you are being tuned like a finely crafted instrument so that when the symphony of your next chapter begins, you resonate perfectly with it? Impatience would rush the melody, fear would distort the notes, but surrender allows harmony, and harmony is the language of the divine. When you release your insistence on outcomes, you begin to notice the quiet gifts hidden in the present. You notice the softness of morning light touching your face. You notice the rhythm of your breath rising and falling like gentle waves. You notice that you are alive in this moment, sustained by a force you did not create and cannot control. That awareness alone is enough to dissolve anxiety. For if the same power that animates your breath has carried you this far, why would it abandon you now? There is an ancient truth whispered across spiritual traditions, that what you seek is seeking you. Not in desperation, not in lack, but in divine reciprocity. The longing in your heart is evidence of alignment, not deficiency. The desire was planted within you for a reason, but it is not meant to be pursued with tension. It is meant to be allowed with trust. Like a magnet drawing iron filings, your alignment will attract what matches your vibration. When you dwell in faith, you become a field of attraction for grace. And yet, sometimes the waiting feels heavy. There are nights when doubt creeps in like a shadow at the edge of your awareness. In those moments, do not fight the shadow. Simply turn toward the light within. The shadow has no substance of its own. It is only the absence of illumination. Bring awareness to your thoughts. Ask gently, is this thought rooted in love or fear? If it is fear, let it pass like a cloud, drifting across the vast sky of your consciousness. You are the sky, not the cloud. The sky is never harmed by passing weather. When you identify with the sky-like nature of your being, you realize that circumstances are temporary visitors. They come and go. They shift and change. But the essence of who you are remains steady, expansive, untouched. From that vantage point, waiting loses its sting. It becomes simply another experience moving through the infinite awareness that you are. Trust deepens when you recognize that you are not navigating this life alone. There is an intelligence woven into every atom of existence, coordinating events beyond your comprehension. What appears as coincidence is often quiet orchestration. A missed opportunity redirects you to a more aligned path. A closed door nudges you toward a hidden entrance. What you interpret as delay may actually be protection. And protection, though sometimes disguised, is an expression of love. The mind may argue, but I have been patient. I have believed. Why has nothing changed? And here is where spiritual maturity blossoms. Faith is not transactional. It is not a bargaining chip exchanged for outcomes. Faith is a state of being. It is the unwavering recognition that your life is guided regardless of external evidence. When you anchor into that recognition, you no longer measure progress by visible results. You measure it by inner peace. And inner peace is the greatest wealth you will ever possess. It cannot be taken from you unless you relinquish it. It does not depend on circumstances aligning perfectly. It arises from alignment with your true nature. When you are at peace in the present, you are already living in abundance. The future becomes a continuation of that abundance, not a remedy for lack. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast field at dawn. The horizon stretches endlessly before you. You cannot see every path, every curve of the terrain, every hidden valley, but you trust that as you step forward, the ground will meet your feet. You do not demand a complete map. You move with quiet assurance. That is what it means to surrender your waiting. It is stepping forward without complete visibility, guided by an inner compass that never fails. The ego fears uncertainty because it equates uncertainty with danger. But uncertainty is the birthplace of possibility. If everything were predetermined in visible form, there would be no room for miracles. The unknown is not your enemy. It is the canvas upon which grace paints its masterpieces. And your willingness to remain open within the unknown invites those masterpieces into your life. Let your waiting become a sacred partnership with the divine. Instead of asking, why is this taking so long, ask, what is this teaching me about trust? Instead of pleading for acceleration, inquire, how can I embody gratitude right now? Gratitude is the bridge between present awareness and future fulfillment. When you are grateful before the manifestation, you demonstrate faith in its inevitability. There is a profound liberation in releasing the need to predict. You are freed from the exhausting task of micromanaging destiny. You are freed from the tension of comparing timelines. You are freed from the illusion that your worth is tied to speed. In that freedom, creativity awakens. Joy returns. You begin to live not in anticipation of life, but in participation with it. And as you continue to surrender, you may notice a gentle paradox. The more you let go, the more life flows toward you effortlessly. Opportunities arise without force. Connections deepen without manipulation. Solutions appear without strain. This is not coincidence. It is the natural result of alignment. When you are no longer pushing against the current, you move with it. And the current of the divine is always moving toward expansion, toward love, toward growth. Trusting God with your waiting does not mean you become passive. It means you act from inspiration rather than desperation. You take steps guided by intuition rather than fear. You follow nudges that feel expansive rather than urgent. Inspiration carries a sense of calm certainty. Desperation carries tension. Learn to discern the difference. Your soul speaks softly, but its guidance is unwavering. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked by the universe. You are unfolding. And unfolding cannot be rushed. A flower forced open before its time would tear its own petals. But given the right conditions, it opens effortlessly, revealing beauty that was always encoded within it. In the same way, your life is blossoming according to a rhythm far wiser than your impatience. Allow yourself to rest in that rhythm. Let your breath anchor you to this sacred now. Let your heart soften into trust. You are held by something vast and benevolent. The waiting is not an empty corridor leading nowhere. It is a sacred chamber where your faith is refined, your vision clarified, your spirit strengthened. And as you continue walking this path of surrender, you will begin to sense a quiet joy rising from within, a joy not dependent on outcomes, not tethered to timelines, but rooted in connection. Connection to source, connection to purpose, connection to the infinite intelligence that has never once ceased guiding you. In that connection, you discover that the true gift was never the thing you were waiting for. The true gift is the awareness that you are eternally supported, eternally guided, eternally loved. And from that awareness, you step forward, not anxious for what comes next, but confident that whatever unfolds will be precisely what your soul requires. So rest in trust, walk in quiet faith. Let your waiting be an altar upon which you lay your fears and reclaim your freedom. For in surrendering your timeline, you have aligned yourself with eternity. And eternity has always been on your side. And as you continue to soften into this sacred alignment, something luminous begins to awaken in the quiet spaces of your being. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself with thunder or spectacle. It arrives gently, like dawn spreading light across a dark horizon. You begin to sense that you are not suspended in delay, you are suspended in divine intelligence. You are not paused, you are positioned. There is a difference. To be paused feels powerless. To be positioned is purposeful. When you understand that every apparent standstill is actually placement, your entire inner landscape changes. The waiting is no longer a hallway of uncertainty. It becomes a sanctuary of preparation. You are being placed where your next evolution can take root. You are being aligned with circumstances that match the frequency of your expanding awareness. The ego trembles when it cannot see movement. It interprets invisibility as absence, but the most powerful forces in existence are unseen. You cannot see gravity, yet it holds galaxies in place. You cannot see love, yet it transforms human hearts. You cannot see the breath entering your lungs, yet it sustains your life with unwavering loyalty. Why then would you require visible proof that God is moving in your life? What if the waiting is the invisible gravity aligning your destiny? Imagine the ocean again, vast and boundless. On its surface, storms may rage, ships may struggle, waves may crash against one another with chaotic intensity. But deep beneath, there is a current, ancient, steady, purposeful. That current moves with intelligence far beyond the turbulence above. When you trust God with your waiting, you are choosing to identify with that deep current rather than the surface waves. You are choosing depth over drama, stillness over reaction, faith over fear. And in that depth, you begin to notice that your identity shifts. You are no longer the anxious seeker scanning the horizon for signs. You become the anchored soul resting in divine timing. There is dignity in that posture. There is grace in that surrender. It is the quiet confidence of someone who knows that their life is not random, it is orchestrated. The mind may still whisper its old questions. What if it never happens? What if I am overlooked? What if I am forgotten? But these are echoes of an outdated story. They are remnants of a belief system rooted in separation, and separation is the greatest illusion the ego has ever created. You are not separate from the source of creation. You are an individualized expression of it. The same intelligence that guides the migration of birds and the unfolding of seasons lives within you as intuition. And intuition does not panic. Intuition does not rush. Intuition knows. There is a knowing inside of you that transcends logic. It is the gentle inner voice that says, "Be still." It is the subtle reassurance that arises in the middle of uncertainty and whispers, "All is well." That voice is not naive optimism. It is spiritual memory. It is the remembrance of who you truly are, eternal, connected, sustained by something immeasurable and benevolent. The waiting becomes sacred when you realize it is dissolving your false identity. It is loosening your attachment to roles, outcomes, and labels. It is gently stripping away the belief that your worth is measured by accomplishment. In the stillness, you are invited to rediscover yourself without the noise of achievement. Who are you when there is nothing to prove? Who are you when there is no timeline to chase? You are presence. You are awareness. You are being itself. And being is enough. When you surrender your waiting, you are not surrendering your dreams. You are surrendering your insistence on controlling the route. You are allowing your dreams to mature in divine soil rather than forcing them through the cracks of impatience. A fruit plucked too early is bitter. A fruit allowed to ripen under the sun becomes sweet and nourishing. Trust that your life is ripening. There is cinematic beauty in this unfolding. Imagine yourself standing in a vast landscape at twilight. The sky is painted with hues of gold and violet. The air is still. You do not see the full path ahead, but you feel something sacred in the atmosphere, a quiet expectancy, like the earth itself is holding its breath before night descends. That expectancy is not tension. It is reverence. It is the knowing that something magnificent is taking shape beyond your immediate perception. The universe does not rush masterpieces, and you are a masterpiece in progress. Do not worry, not because life is predictable, not because the world is always gentle, not because storms will not come, but because God is bigger than fear. And the presence that breathes you into existence at this very moment has never once abandoned its creation. You are not here by accident. You are not moving through a hostile universe. You are not a fragile body trying to survive a cruel world. You are a divine expression of an infinite source, temporarily experiencing the illusion of limitation and fear. Fear is the forgetting of that truth. I want you to imagine the ocean. On the surface, waves rise and fall. Some are calm, some are violent. Some crash against the shore with thunder, others roll in like a whisper. If a wave could think, it might say, I am separate, I am alone. I must compete with the other waves. I must fight against the wind. I must resist the shore. But the wave would be mistaken. The wave is not separate from the ocean. It has never been separate. It cannot be separate. Its very substance is the ocean itself. You are not the wave. You are the ocean. Fear is what happens when the wave forgets it is water. Worry is the mind's attempt to control what the soul already understands. The ego trembles because it believes it is alone. It believes it must predict, manage, defend, and manipulate in order to survive. The ego says, what if I fail? What if I lose? What if I am rejected? What if tomorrow does not go my way? And in those questions, the ego tightens its grip around your heart. But the soul whispers something far more powerful. I am held. I am guided. I am part of something infinite. God is not a distant figure measuring your worth. God is the very energy of life expressing itself as you. The intelligence that moves galaxies is the same intelligence beating your heart. The force that orchestrates seasons is the same force orchestrating your becoming. And if that is true, then what exactly are you afraid of? Fear is always about the future. It is a projection. It is imagination misused. It is creative energy turned against itself. You were given the divine gift of imagination to envision beauty, possibility, and expansion. Yet the ego hijacks this sacred tool and paints pictures of disaster. It rehearses loss. It predicts rejection. It magnifies uncertainty. And then it asks you to bow before its illusions. But I tell you now, do not worship what has not happened. You are not required to kneel before imagined tragedies. In this very moment, are you breathing? In this very moment, is your heart beating? In this very moment, are you supported by the ground beneath you and the air around you? Then in this moment, you are safe, and life is only ever happening now. The ego lives in what if. The soul lives in what is. What is right now is life flowing through you. What is right now is awareness, listening to these words. What is right now is a presence so vast and loving that it has carried you through every single challenge you have ever faced. Think about that. Every fear you once had about the past, you survived it. Every sleepless night of worry, you moved beyond it. Every uncertainty that once consumed your thoughts, it passed. Something greater than your fear carried you then. That same presence carries you now. The sky does not resist the clouds. It allows them. The clouds may darken, they may storm, they may rumble with intensity, but the sky remains untouched. The sky is not harmed by the storm, and you at your deepest level are not harmed by passing fears. You are the sky, vast and boundless. Fear is only a cloud. When you identify with the cloud, you tremble. When you remember you are the sky, you relax. Worry is the ego's declaration of independence from God. It says, I can handle this better than the infinite. I must control the outcome. I do not trust the flow. But what if the flow is wiser than your plans? What if the detour is protection? What if the delay is preparation? What if what appears to be loss is actually redirection? There is a deeper order moving through your life, an intelligence that sees beyond your limited vantage point. You see a single thread. God sees the entire tapestry. You see the closed door. God sees the corridor leading to a more aligned opening. You see the ending. God sees the transformation. Do not worry does not mean do nothing. It means act from faith rather than fear. It means move forward without the poison of panic. It means trust the inner guidance that arises from stillness, not the frantic voice that screams from anxiety. The ego shouts, the soul whispers. If you are constantly worried, you cannot hear the whisper. Silence is sacred because it reconnects you to source. In silence, you remember that you are not the voice in your head narrating catastrophe. You are the awareness behind the voice. You are the witness, and the witness is never afraid. Say this quietly within yourself. I am not my fear. I am not my worry. I am the presence observing them. Feel the shift that occurs when you say, I am. I am is the name of God expressing as you. Before you add anything after it, before you say, I am anxious, I am scared, I am uncertain, pause. Just remain with I am. In that space, there is no fear. There is only existence. Pure being. And pure being is untouched by imagined futures. The ego thrives on comparison and competition. It worries about status, image, approval. It measures itself against others and trembles at the thought of being less. But the oak tree does not compare itself to the pine. The rose does not envy the lily. Nature expresses itself uniquely without apology. Why should you be any different? You were not sent here to compete for worthiness. You were sent here as an extension of divine creativity. Your path is not a race, it is a revelation. Fear contracts. Love expands. When you are worried, your body tightens, your breath shortens, your world narrows. When you trust, your breath deepens, your shoulders soften, your perception widens. This is not philosophy alone. It is biology aligned with spirituality. Your nervous system responds to your thoughts, and your thoughts can either declare war or announce peace. What would happen if instead of asking, what if everything goes wrong, you began asking, what if everything is unfolding perfectly? What if this challenge is sculpting strength you cannot yet see? What if this uncertainty is dissolving attachments that no longer serve your evolution? What if this very moment is an initiation into deeper faith? God is not intimidated by your circumstances. There is no situation so complex, no diagnosis so severe, no financial challenge so overwhelming, no relationship so strained that the creative intelligence of the universe cannot transform it. But transformation requires trust, and trust requires surrender. Surrender is not weakness, it is alignment. It is the willingness to say, I do not have to control the ocean, I will learn to ride the wave. It is the courage to release the illusion that worry protects you. Worry does not prevent pain, it only steals presence. It robs you of the only place life can be experienced now. Ask yourself gently, what is my worry giving me? Is it bringing clarity? Is it producing solutions? Or is it rehearsing fear? Often, we cling to worry because it gives us a false sense of control. If I worry enough, perhaps I can prevent the worst. But the sun rises without your worry. The seasons change without your anxiety. Your heart beats without your supervision. Life is happening through you, not because of your constant mental interference. Imagine holding an orange in your hand. You squeeze it, orange juice comes out. Why? Because that is what is inside. If fear comes out of you when life squeezes you, it is because fear has been cultivated within. But if faith comes out, if compassion comes out, if calm strength comes out, it is because you have remembered who you are. You cannot control every squeeze, but you can choose what you cultivate within. Fill yourself with trust. Fill yourself with remembrance. Fill yourself with the quiet, knowing that you are connected to something vast. When pressure comes, what spills out will be aligned with that inner knowing. Do not worry about being perfect. Do not worry about having every answer. Do not worry about being approved by everyone around you. The need for external validation is the ego's hunger, and it is never satisfied. The soul seeks only alignment with truth. And truth is this: you are already enough. You are not becoming worthy. You are remembering worthiness. You are not striving to be loved. You are uncovering the love that is your essence. You are not fighting for survival in a random universe. You are awakening within an intelligent, responsive field of energy that mirrors your beliefs. If you believe you are alone, the world feels threatening. If you believe you are supported, the world begins to reflect opportunity. Change your inner declaration and your outer experience shifts. This does not mean you will never encounter difficulty. It means you will encounter it differently. You will meet it with steadiness instead of panic. You will ask, what is this here to teach me? Instead of, why is this happening to me? You will step out of victimhood and into authorship. There are no justified resentments because resentment ties you to what you claim to despise. In the same way, Chronic worry ties you to the very future you fear. Release the attachment. Release the narrative. Forgive the past. Trust the unfolding. You are not here to shrink in the face of uncertainty. You are here to expand into faith. When fear arises, and it will do not fight it violently, observe it, speak to it, say, thank you for trying to protect me, but I choose trust. In that moment, you shift from being possessed by fear to being conscious of it, and consciousness dissolves illusion. God is bigger than your bank account. God is bigger than a medical report. God is bigger than rejection. God is bigger than global uncertainty. The infinite cannot be threatened by temporary conditions. And because you are an expression of the infinite, your essence cannot be threatened either. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a vast field of light extending beyond what you can see. That light is intelligent, it is loving, it is creative, and it is not separate from you. You are a focal point through which it expresses. Your thoughts either allow that light to flow or block it with doubt. Choose to allow, say within yourself, I trust the wisdom that created me. I trust the path unfolding before me. I trust that what is meant for me cannot miss me. Feel the resonance of those words. They are not empty affirmations. They are reminders of reality. The caterpillar does not worry about becoming a butterfly. The seed does not panic underground. There is a natural timing, a divine orchestration at work in all of life. Why would you be excluded from that order? You may not see the entire staircase, but you only need the next step. And when you take that step in faith, something remarkable happens. The universe responds. Doors open. Insights arise. Synchronicities appear. Not because you forced them, but because you aligned with them. Fear is contraction into the small self. Faith is expansion into the infinite self. When you choose faith, you are not denying reality. You are choosing a higher interpretation of it. You are declaring that no matter what appears externally, internally, you remain anchored. You remain rooted. You remain aware that you are more than this moment's challenge. One day, you will look back on this season of your life and see how unnecessary much of your worry was. You will see how life carried you, guided you, shaped you, and you will smile gently at the version of yourself that trembled. Why wait until then? Right now, in this breath, you can release the tension. Right now, you can unclench your jaw, soften your shoulders, deepen your inhale. Right now, you can whisper, I am safe in God's embrace. The mind may argue. Let it. The ego may protest. Let it. You are not required to believe every thought you think. Thoughts are clouds. You are the sky. And the sky has never been harmed by passing weather. Do not worry. Not because life is simple, but because you are not navigating it alone. There is a presence within you that knows the way. There is a wisdom beneath your fear that is steady and unwavering. There is a love that holds you even when you forget to hold yourself. God is bigger than fear. And when you remember that, not just intellectually, but viscerally, something shifts. The frantic urgency dissolves. The desperate need to control softens. You begin to move with life rather than against it. Let today be the day you choose trust over torment. Let today be the day you release the addiction to worst-case scenarios. Let today be the day you return to the quiet certainty that you are guided. You are not a fragile accident in a chaotic world. You are a divine being having a human experience. You are the ocean appearing as a wave. You are the sky allowing clouds. You are the light temporarily dancing with shadow. And no shadow has ever extinguished the sun. So breathe, trust, surrender, act with love, release with grace. And whenever fear whispers, answer gently but firmly, God is bigger than this. Then step forward, not as a worried mind, but as awakened presence. And watch how life begins to meet you with the same faith you have chosen to embody. And as you step forward in that awakened presence, something subtle yet profound begins to rearrange itself within you. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself with fireworks or applause. It is a quiet recalibration of your inner compass. You begin to notice that the same situations that once stirred anxiety now invite awareness. The same uncertainties that once felt threatening now feel like open space, space where trust can stretch its wings. Fear once convinced you that uncertainty was danger, but uncertainty is simply the canvas upon which creation paints. If everything were known, predetermined, and guaranteed, there would be no room for faith. And faith is the bridge between the visible and the invisible. It is the soul's way of walking into mystery without trembling. You were not designed to know everything. You were designed to align with the source that knows. There is a profound difference. The ego demands guarantees before it will move. The spirit moves and discovers that the ground appears beneath its feet. When a child learns to walk, it does not calculate every possible fall. It does not consult statistics about balance and gravity. It trusts the impulse within it to rise. And even when it stumbles, it does not interpret the fall as a verdict on its worth. It simply stands again. Somewhere along the way, you were taught to interpret every misstep as a personal flaw. You were conditioned to believe that outcomes determine value. And so worry became your companion, an attempt to avoid falling, to avoid failing, to avoid being seen as less than enough. But what if falling is part of flying? What if every apparent setback is a recalibration of direction? The river does not curse the rock in its path. It does not panic and declare my journey is over. It bends, it flows around, it adapts without losing its destination. And in that flexibility, it discovers new beauty. You are that river. You are not meant to be rigid with fear. You are meant to be fluid with faith. When you cling to worry, your energy contracts around imagined outcomes. When you release it, your energy becomes available for inspiration. An inspiration, that inner spark of divine guidance, can only reach you when there is space. Worry fills the mind with noise. Trust opens it to wisdom. There is an intelligence within you that does not operate through panic. It speaks through intuition. It nudges gently. It feels like a quiet knowing rather than a frantic urgency. The ego's voice feels tight, rushed, pressured. The soul's voice feels calm, spacious, certain, without needing to shout. Begin to notice the difference. When a decision arises, pause. Instead of asking, what if this goes wrong, ask, what feels aligned? Alignment is not about external approval. It is about inner resonance. It is about sensing whether your choice expands your heart or constricts it. The body is a messenger. It reveals whether you are moving from fear or from love. Your heart does not beat in anxiety. It beats in rhythm with life. You do not have to micromanage the unfolding of your destiny. You are not the architect of the entire universe. You are a participant in its dance. And the dance does not require you to predict every step. It requires you to be present for the music. And the music is always playing. Even in silence, there is movement. Even in stillness, there is growth. Seeds germinate in darkness. Muscles strengthen in rest. Clarity often emerges after surrender. If you are in a season where nothing seems to be happening, do not interpret it as stagnation. Beneath the surface, roots are forming. Trust the unseen processes of your life. Fear insists that if you cannot see progress, there is none. But so much of transformation is invisible until it is undeniable. A sculptor chisels away stone long before the statue reveals itself. From the outside, it appears as destruction. From the inside, it is refinement. Perhaps what feels like loss in your life is actually chiseling. Perhaps what feels like delay is preparation. Perhaps what feels like isolation is initiation. There is a vast difference between being alone and being aligned. When you align with the divine presence within you, you realize that solitude is not emptiness, it is communion. It is a sacred meeting between your human experience and your eternal essence. And in that communion, worry begins to dissolve because you recognize that you are never navigating this existence unsupported. Every breath is evidence of partnership with something greater. You do not command your lungs to inhale in your sleep. Life breathes you. If life can breathe you without your conscious effort, can it not also guide you beyond your conscious worry? The mind wants control because it fears chaos. But what appears as chaos is often complexity beyond your limited vantage point. Imagine standing inches away from a vast painting. You would see only random strokes, confusing colors, no coherent form. Step back, and an image emerges. Step back further, and beauty reveals itself. Your current circumstances are brushstrokes. You are invited to trust the larger composition. Worry narrows your focus to the single stroke. Faith steps back and remembers the masterpiece. And here's a deeper truth. You are not only in the painting, you are also the artist. The same creative force shaping galaxies is expressing through your intentions, your thoughts, your beliefs. When you align those inner elements with trust instead of fear, you collaborate consciously with that force. Say within yourself, I choose to co-create from love. Feel how different that is from attempting to control from fear. Control is exhausting. Co-creation is energizing. When you attempt to control every outcome, you place yourself in opposition to the flow of life. When you co-create, you ask, how may I serve this moment? What is life asking of me now? And that question opens a doorway to meaning rather than anxiety. Meaning dissolves fear. When you understand that even challenges carry purpose, you stop resisting them so fiercely. Resistance intensifies suffering. Acceptance softens it. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It means acknowledging what is present without layering it with panic. You can face a difficulty and remain rooted in inner stillness. You can walk through uncertainty and remain anchored in faith. You can experience grief and still trust in the continuity of the soul. These are not contradictions. They are the hallmarks of spiritual maturity. There is a strength within you that has nothing to do with physical power or external status. It is the strength of alignment. It is the strength of knowing who you are beyond titles, beyond roles, beyond temporary conditions. Who are you without your worries? If you remove the narratives about what might go wrong, what would remain? You would remain pure awareness, pure being, pure presence. And that presence is unthreatened by future scenarios because it exists only now. The present moment is not fragile, it is complete. Everything required for this moment is already here. When tomorrow arrives, it will also bring everything required for it. You do not have to import tomorrow's strength into today. You will receive what you need when you need it. Trust that. The sun does not rise early to prepare for noon. It rises when it is time. You, too, are allowed to move in rhythm rather than in rush. Fear rushes. Love unfolds. As you continue this journey, you may notice that worry attempts to return, whispering old stories. Do not condemn yourself for that. Conditioning does not dissolve overnight, but each time you choose trust instead of tension, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen a new pathway. Transformation is repetition of truth. Return again and again to the awareness that you are held within something infinite. Return again and again to the breath that anchors you in now. Return again and again to the remembrance that God is not a distant rescuer, but an indwelling presence. And from that remembrance, live. Live not as someone bracing for impact, but as someone open to grace. Live not as someone scanning for danger, but as someone attuned to possibility. Live not as someone defined by fear, but as someone awakened to their divine identity. You are not here to survive your life. You are here to experience it as a sacred unfolding. And as you release the habit of worry, you begin to experience something extraordinary, a quiet joy that does not depend on perfect conditions, a serenity that is not shaken by temporary storms, a confidence rooted not in ego, but in connection. This is inner freedom. This is the realization that no matter what appears in your external world, there is a sanctuary within you, untouched by circumstance. Enter that sanctuary often, sit there in stillness, listen, and you will hear a voice that has always been there, steady and unwavering, saying, you are guided, you are supported, you are loved beyond measure. Let that voice become louder than fear. Let that truth become stronger than doubt. And walk forward not because you have eliminated uncertainty, but because you have embraced trust as your companion. For truly, deeply, eternally, God is bigger than fear.